Honorable Minister, let's go back to Exhibit Motive 5.
Yes, Honorable Member.
And paragraph 3 of Motive 5 reads, upon the conception of the novel idea, the Foundation informed the government through the presidency and further sought partnership with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and so on and so forth. This was the press release of December 16th. And by December 21st, you were denying that the president or presidency had any knowledge of this event. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I do not see any inconsistency between these two statements. And why do I say so? The honorable member is referring to the fact that the Foundation informed the government through the presidency. Information. And the honorable member is then referring to a subsequent press statement in which I have asserted and I am confirming that His Excellency, the President, nor the presidency was not directly or indirectly or even remotely connected to the same event. Mr. Chairman, on the lighter side, if the honorable member informs me about the wedding of his daughter, that is in a figurative way, informs me and even invites me to the wedding, is there a supposition then that I become connected to the organization of the wedding? If you inform the presidency, are we then suggesting that by mere information, then the presidency had been connected to the organization of the event? That's why I do not see the inconsistency, respectfully.
So what was the purpose of the information to the presidency, and was that in writing?
It's very clear in the statement that is being referred to and which you have quoted. It says that upon the conception of the Foundation informed the presidency. So it lies in the belly of the Foundation to describe the nature of the information. But on the face of the record, it's very clear. They say informed the presidency. And I'm saying that the information does not necessarily mean that the president was connected with the organization of the event. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification. And in the same press release, Honorable Minister, you said the ministry facilitated the organization and hosting of the event. What was the nature of the facilitation? Besides writing the letter introducing the foundation, what other things did you do by way of facilitation?
Mr. Chairman, I refer the honorable member to the MOU. And that was why I started with that. That is the foundation document describing what both of us as parties did. And so this is the MOTI 1.7, clause 1.7, responsibilities of MOTI. Mr. Chairman, I've read it again, so I didn't think I should repeat. Yes.
Thank you for the reference. So in the MOU, you agreed that 90% of the proceeds will be paid to the foundation. Is that correct?
Yes, that was the understanding in the MOU.
And the ministry will retain 10%.
Mr. Chairman, once this is a reference now being made, if we can just read, it makes it very clear. We just let us read that portion, and then I think we will. So that is clause 1.6 1.62, Mr. Chairman, of the Memorandum of Understanding. And I read as follows. It is agreed that after all expenses are paid for, the remaining agreed funds are transferred into the MEF account. That funds left over, that's 10%, will be retained by MOTI for subsequent hosting of GEBA and initiatives that are derived from the event, such as an expatriate advocacy and support association and organization of a Ghana expatriate business forum, similar to the Davos-style forum. So that is the relevant clause.
Okay, so you don't, in future, you don't intend to raise funds again. You'll be using these funds for organizing the event.
Mr. Chairman, for clarity, it says that the funds left will be retained by MOTI for subsequent hosting. So my understanding is that this will only be contributing to that process. I'm not sure that you retain 10% of funds for a whole, and that will be adequate to organize subsequent events. So my understanding is that it will go towards the organization of subsequent events.
Okay. But in the same MOU, you refer to financial support to your technical or planning team, right? Is that correct?
Honourable Member, if you could make reference to the specific clause.
Same clause that you read, Honourable Minister, 1.62.
Yeah.
The numbering is a little bit, a little bit awkward, but
yes.
1.62.
So it says that, but Honourable Member, you are saying that there's an indication of financial support for beyond this 10% matter. So which part of it are you referring to?
Okay. Honourable Minister, clause 1.62. There's two there. It's supposed to be... Oh, okay. Yes, that's why I said, yeah. So it's the first one, the first 1.62.
Okay.
Yes, the first 1.62. It will be agreed that the MEF will retain 90% of all funds raised and to ensure enough funds are there to host the entire event and required expenses, including financial support to all members of the technical team, planning team, and publicity expenses. Is that correct? Is that...
He will answer, but for purposes of our report, because there are two 1.62s, maybe we should know how to label the first and the second, so that
1.62A and 1.62B.
Exactly. Yeah. So the first one is A, the second one is the B. So, Minister, the question is in relation to 1.62A, the first one.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Chair, my understanding is that the 90%, let's say if we raise 100 Ghana cedis, 90% of it will be retained by the foundation. This is what it says. It will be agreed that the MEF, that's the foundation, will retain 90% of all funds raised, 90% of the 100 cedis. And to ensure enough funds are there to host the entire event and required expenses, including financial support to all members of the technical team, planning team, and publicity expenses. And maybe just for clarification also, because this had come up earlier, KPMG, my understanding, will be more or less described as a technical team. But then all the agencies that you refer to are part of the regular planning team, you know. So, and then publicity expenses, that is what this is referring to.
Okay. I take it that you are not trying to clarify your earlier position that there's no technical team.
You said we'll come back to it, so that's the clarification that we are giving now.
I said it because I read the MOU. Okay. But let's try to unpack this.
Yes.
90% of the gross funds raised will also be used to provide financial support to all members of the technical team, the planning team, and then the publicity expenses. Is that right? And then the remaining 10% is what will now, the residual amount for future events.
Yes, Honorable.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, is it correct to say then that the monies being raised were also being used to fund your planning and technical teams? Is it correct to say that?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it is clear on the face of the record here that the foundation will retain 90% of the all funds, and to ensure enough funds are there to host the entire event. So if in case the funds rates are not adequate even to fund it, that responsibility is bestowed on the foundation. It is clearly stated there that it will be agreed that the foundation retain 90% of all funds raised, and to ensure enough funds are there to host the entire event, required expenses, including financial support for all members of the technical team and the planning team.
So was any financial support given to your technical team?
You mean the...
Yes, for the 2017 GEBA event. Was any financial support given to your technical team?
The foundation would clarify that.
No, Honorable Minister. These funds were paid into a Ministry of Trade account. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Honorable Member.
Right. And so the foundation could not have had access to the funds unless they were disbursed by your staff or officers at the ministry.
Honorable Member, my understanding of the question is that it could not be disbursed unless the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Trade releases the funds.
Yes.
Yes, because that's part of the MOU.
That is so.
That the ministry will release the funds to the foundation for purposes of organizing the event. And respectfully, Mr. Chairman, this is normal practice. Any event organizer will mobilize resources, funds through sponsorship, and then use the funds to organize the event. Because there's no other way, particularly for a foundation, which is a company limited by guarantee, to fund this event. And the MOU was not requiring government or the Ministry of Trade to provide any financial support. So that's the criteria I was looking for.
Yes, Honorable Minister. I'm just saying that in 2017, your staff released monies to the foundation, some of which were used to fund or support your technical or planning team and to incur publicity expenses. Is that correct?
I don't have all the details, but based on this MOU, that's my understanding, that expenses in respect of the organization of the event was to be covered under the 90% component of the fund.
Honorable Minister, did your technical team receive any monies out of the monies that were paid into your account?
No, Mr. Chairman, maybe it might be useful for us to go back to the express words of the MOU. the foundation was responsible for meeting all those expenses out of the 90% that they receive. So if you want more or less an accounting of how the money was disbursed, it lies with the foundation, because that responsibility was bestowed on the foundation to receive 90% of the funds and to ensure, I just specifically read it, to ensure that all those expenses are covered. So I'm sitting here, poor man, I'm unable to determine who had to be paid for what, because that was not my responsibility.
I'm sad that Alan Cash is calling himself poor man. But Minister, the basic point is that expenses were incurred, and you have said in your press release that an audit was done, right? An audit was done by your ministry. Your December 21st press release says an audit was done. Paragraph 6.
Yes, Honourable Member. Yes, an audit was done.
All right. Was it, did you have an audit report?
I do not have it available.
Can you supply the committee as soon as practicable with the audit, the internal audit report that was done of the monies that were, lodged and then disbursed and spent?
I'm sure that can be done as soon as practicable.
That is fine, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure we'll get to see who got what and for what in that audit report. But is it correct to infer that whatever your technical team got or your planning team was, paid towards the facilitation role of the ministry?
Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, maybe we are confusing the allocation of responsibilities. It is very clear on the face of the MOU that our facilitation activities have been outlined. It does not include the mobilization of resources, the disbursement of resources. It does not include that.
Fine. Honorable Minister, you agreed in that MOU, or you appended your deputy signed that MOU, committing you to receiving the funds into a public account. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you gave the reason for receiving the money as to ensure financial integrity and accountability, right?
Yes, Honorable Member. Yes, indeed.
Why was it so difficult to allow the foundation to raise the monies, keep them in the foundation's accounts, spend, and account to your ministry? Why was it necessary to have these funds lodged in a public account?
Mr. Chairman, we have just read a very important part of this MOU, which makes reference to that's 1.62, now referred to as 1.62B. We have just read this clause, and we all know that some portion, 10% of the funds mobilized, was to be retained by the ministry towards the organization of subsequent events. Mr. Chairman, how was the ministry going to ascertain that X amount was raised, 10% of which then will be applied to the purposes for which this has been indicated? So if the foundation was supposed to raise the funds, put it in their own account, how am I able to judge that 10% of what amount? And so when we talk about financial integrity, that is what we actually mean. So when you collect and you deposit it in the ministry's account, remember, this is only meant to fund the activities in respect of, not to finance the ministry's operations. It has nothing to do with the ministry's operations. And so if we have agreed that 10% of monies collected will be retained to fund the subsequent events, I mean, this honorable committee ought to agree with me that it makes sense for me or for the ministry to ensure that we have evidence of how much was collected. The only way you can have accurate, report on that is at least to have an account of it.
So there was a basic issue of trust between you and your partner?
This is financial prudence. It has nothing to do with trust. Okay.
A trustee behaves in a prudent fashion, right? Because you are a fiduciary. All right. Let's move forward. In paragraph 4 of, I believe it must be your December 21st press release, signed by your good self. You said the event organizers were instructed not to collect any monies to place persons on the presidential high table. Is that right?
Yes, except that I was a bit intrigued with the accompanying or the attached laughter of the honorable member.
Minister, it's because I had to give you that document earlier. You remember? The one that had to refresh your memory about the package. Okay, so that is what I was smiling about. What was the form of the instruction? You instructed them not to place anybody at the presidential table or to collect any monies from anybody in order to place them at the presidential table. What was the form of the instruction? How was it communicated?
Mr. Chairman, it was a verbal instruction, verbal communication.
Okay. And under what circumstances? Was it at a meeting of the planning committee and so on?
Mr. Chairman, you recall that I made a statement earlier on to the effect that since I was not a member of the planning committee, I requested that occasionally, that as minister I was briefed about the progress in terms of the organization of the event. So in one of these briefing sessions, this discussion came up. And my understanding, the way I read it, was that let us be sure, I mean, that was the way I was reading it. I'm only being briefed by members of the planning committee, and they are telling me that these are the benefits, this is how it's going to be organized. So I said, please, then let's make sure that if it is sponsorship, it is sponsorship. That it has nothing to do with, I am contributing to this event so that I'm getting a seat by the president. So it was just, I would say, strategic intuition on my part. And it was actually more or less as an advice. And in actual fact, the immediate response suggested to me that that was not even a plan, And when the event was finally organized, and I'm sure we'll come to it, it was clear that either it was not intended to be or my instructions were followed. Yeah.
So we take it that there was nobody who paid 100,000 who was at the presidential table.
Mr. Chairman, at the time, my understanding and my knowledge is that when the event was organized, the day of the event, nobody had paid $100,000 to sit at that high table.
So Was it by coincidence that in accordance with Exhibit Motive 4, that is Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ghana Expatriate Business Awards expenditure? Yes. Oh, no, it's not expenditure. I believe it must be Motive 3. Motive 3. Go back to Motive 3. Yes. I don't want to mention the name of the company because we haven't made a decision.
Okay.
Whether we are calling, yes, item number 24. We haven't made a decision whether we are calling that particular company as a witness, so I don't want to, let them out of the bag. But a company gave you a check on December 5th, 2017. In Ghana cedis, the amount is 440,000. That is approximately $100,000 right? Yeah. Okay. The MD of that company was at the presidential table. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed, yes.
Okay. And conveniently paid a day after.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not representing the said company, but in my own view, it will not be appropriate for me to endorse the conclusion that you have come to. That
Mr. Chairman, I want to withdraw.
Respectfully, okay.
Yeah, so, yes. Honorable Minister, I'm withdrawing my use of the word conveniently. But a company paid your ministry a check of the equivalent, the city equivalent of $100,000 on the 5th, a day after the event. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, Honorable Member.
Okay, good. But do you by any chance make photocopies of the checks that were given? You have.
Yes, I'm sure.
You have photocopies
yes.
of all the checks that were paid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we have the photocopies of the checks?
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
Okay, that is fine. I'm most grateful for that. But when you gave the instruction relating to not sitting at the presidential table and paying 100,000 and so on, which president did you have in mind? Was it the president of the Republic?
Mr. Chairman, respectfully and very respectfully, before I come to my response to this reference to the expense sheet or the donation, this document, Motive 3, it's been tendered. Is that correct?
Yes, Motive 3.
Yes.
Motive 3.
But I just wanted clarification from the honorable member. He has knowledge about the company, but do I get the understanding that you don't want it to be disclosed?
Well, I'm looking at the rules of procedure,
okay,
and thinking that since they may not, I don't want to mention their name, and they may not be given an opportunity to answer.
All right.
But if the chairman rules that we will definitely call that company, there will be no reason why we cannot mention them.
All right. Okay. I just wanted a clarification on that. Yes.
I think this particular company that we are referring to here was named yesterday by a witness. Was named. So the name is already out there in the public.
Yes.
So we can refer to it. Okay. And we shall invite that company.
Then a follow-up. Then in that particular case, so now we understand that during the interrogation yesterday, the company was named. Mr. Chairman, just following procedure, is there a record of the name? Then I could speak to it.
Oh, yes, Honorable Minister, is Interplus Limited that paid the check on December 5th. Number 24 on your expenditure, no, the receipt, sheet that you gave us, Motive 3.
So now we are talking about a specific individual. The honorable member has mentioned his name. or the company.
I have mentioned the name of his company. I haven't mentioned
yes.
the individual.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Or the name of the company. The company is Interplus, from what you have said. The company was represented by the executive chairman of the company, Mr. Fakri. Because this is, as we are saying, it is matter of public record now. Mr. Fakri has been known to the president for over 40 years. Indeed, the president has been the lawyer, was the lawyer of Mr. Fakri for many years. Are we suggesting that Mr. Fakri has to pay $100,000 to sit and speak to somebody who was his client so many years ago and a personal friend? So, because I thought that we have to lift the veil and let the people of this country know that we are embarking on a very serious exercise. This parliamentary inquiry, by the combination of technological advancement and other things, is exposed to the whole world. This is a government that is trying to seek foreign investment. And we are competing with advanced countries like the United States, Japan. All these countries are all competing for the same foreign investment. Now, we are trying to honor the expatriates who have made this commitment to our country. Unless something comes out of this inquiry to establish that the government was extorting money from expatriates who have devoted their lives to support this economy, then it's a very serious, because now somebody is being referred to. And I'm saying that...
Honorable Minister, I think you are overreaching your mandate as a witness. I think the question, I think you have to be specific in the answers to the questions that are being asked. I take your reaction to this, issue in good faith, and I understand why you would react the way you have reacted. But can we spare ourselves a sermon on the mountain and then get to the bottom of this matter?
Honourable Member, if you proceed with the question, I'll be more than willing to respond to that.
Thank you very much for that understanding. Now let's go to paragraph 6. Paragraph 6. I think December 21st press conference.
Paragraph 6
of your December 21st press conference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all right.
Now, you refer to the event organizers as private sector commercial operators. Is that correct?
Yes, that is the description that is there.
Okay, so that is a reference to the foundation, right?
Yes, the foundation, yes.
Okay. But in part of the answer that you gave, you referred again to that same foundation as a company limited by guarantee. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay, so notionally, you cannot have a company limited by guarantee operating as a commercial entity at the same time, right?
Well, Honourable Member, maybe it might be a misdescription, but my understanding is that a company limited by guarantee is not excluded by law in principle from engaging in commercial activities. However, any proceeds arising from that activity must not be applied to the distribution of dividends, because it is not a company limited by shares. So that's the only way this was described. It may not be the most elegant way of describing it, but that's what it means.
All right. And you also said in that paragraph that they were entitled to a fair return for their effort. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it's along the same lines. A foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, can invest their monies. Invest, meaning it's an investment, so that the foundation funds will grow and there will be a return on that investment. What is wrong with that?
I haven't placed a value judgment on it yet. I'm just asking you questions.
All right.
Okay, so if you can limit yourself to factual answers, that would be very helpful. So when you made a reference to a fair return, I took it to be that they had, they had invested and were now, entitled to a fair return. But you have just explained why you use the term fair return. Okay, so let's turn to the issue of extortion, because you mentioned it in your December 21st, press release, and you said no money was extorted, and no individual came out claiming that they had been extorted. Is the Honourable Minister ready?
Yes, Honourable Member. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were looking for your evidence relating to extortion. So let's look at paragraph 8. Paragraph 8, in which you asserted that there was no extortion and no individual came out to make any claims of extortion. Right. You wrote the letters introducing the foundation on your letterhead. Okay, so can you answer so that you wrote the...
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that is fine. So it was official. It was official that this was Moti acting as an introducer, of the foundation.
Very well.
Okay.
Very well.
So will it be accurate to say that you acted under the color of your office as Minister of Trade?
Yes, in line with the MOU.
Okay, so you were simply complying with your obligations under the MOU as
Yes.
a partner or collaborator?
Yes, indeed.
All right. Now, are you aware that some or any of the companies have subsisting contracts with the government of Ghana?
I'm not aware, I will not be aware, and I ought not to be aware, because the responsibility for contacting, mobilizing, soliciting funds from those companies you are referring to, that responsibility was bestowed on the foundation.
Yes, but what was the purpose of your letter?
Honorable Member, which letter?
Your letter? I think Moti 2 introducing the foundation to the various expatriate business enterprises. What was its purpose?
Mr. Chairman, we read it. It is clear. One, was to introduce this whole event to potential beneficiaries and awardees. So we made reference to the criteria for the nomination. So if honorable member is asking what was the purpose, so that's the first purpose. And honorable member also pointed out that at the end of that correspondence, there was an issue of sponsorship. Both are in line with our obligations under the MOU. Yeah.
Okay. So it means you did not do any due diligence on any of the companies to find out if they have subsisting contractual relationship or business relationship with the government of Ghana. Is that correct?
Honorable member, it was not my responsibility to undertake that, so I did not, or we did not as a ministry.
I'm saying so because I know your background, and I thought that you would have thought it wise to conduct some preliminary due diligence to find out whether there are subsisting contracts and whether those contracts may operate on the minds of anybody that you were writing to.
Honourable Member, respectfully, I'm not so clear about the import and direction of the question, because I've indicated that that responsibility was assigned to the foundation. And I'm grateful for your very kind comment about myself, but I'm not sure why I would have extended my responsibilities beyond that imposed on me, so we did not.
So let's agree that it wasn't your responsibility, and that's why you didn't do it. But supposing, for the sake of the exercise that we're engaging, that a company or companies had business relationships with the government, and you were lending your legitimacy to this exercise, don't you think that that could have operated on their minds in the boardroom with respect to what checks they should write and so on?
Mr. Chairman, I think I need guidance on this. We are making this inquiry and interrogation, and I want to be sure, honourable member, respectfully, that we are all on the same homepage. A private entity, like many others do, is organizing an event to award expatriates. And they seek the collaboration of government. And a government that is so committed to the progress of the private sector agrees to become a collaborating partner. Are we suggesting that now, if one of the potential sponsors, which I or the ministry is not responsible for identifying, has business relations with the government, that by making a contribution to the organization of this event, that there's a major challenge of integrity or potential. So I'm trying to seek an understanding of the import of that inquiry. And if I may extend this respectfully, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, or Ministry of Agriculture, unlike in this situation where we are not directly organizing the sponsorship exercise, seeks sponsorship from business entities towards the organization of the Farmers' Day. And the Ministry of Agriculture now has to audit to find out whether these potential sponsors of the Farmers' Day have business interests which may be advanced by their contribution. Then How are we supposed to be supporting the private sector?
Honorable Minister, I know what you are going to say, Chairman.
No, we cannot predict. I have to put it out for the record. We are not to be asking hypothetical questions. I wanted to come in and intervene before the minister even spoke. If you ask if a company has a contract on this, you are just seeking the opinion, not a fact. So the minister, in his answers, he also says, if. That's not what we are here to do. So please, my colleague, don't let us ask hypothetical questions.
Okay, I don't think that this is hypothetical. I think it's an important question relating to the issue of extortion, because the ministry wrote on its letterhead introducing the GEBA to the, introducing the foundation to GEBA, right? And
not introducing the foundation to GEBA. Not introducing the foundation to GEBA.
Expatriate community.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ghana expatriate community.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much. So,
Honorable,
no.
If you have a specific case of extortion, put it on the table for the minister to answer. A specific case of extortion, not in a hypothetical form. Please, it will help all of us in making a decision.
Mr. Chairman, I am building my case, and if you would allow me to do so, I would be most grateful as a member of this committee. You know that we're tasked by the Right Honorable Speaker to do this inquiry. No, please, Chairman. I don't want any, so I am building my case, and you should allow me, at the end, you would know why I'm asking the question I'm asking in relation to extortion, okay?
We were taxed. Everybody knows that we were set up by the Speaker of Parliament, and I was made the chairman of this committee. So I regret the procedure here. No. If anything...
The committee regulates its own procedure. You don't regulate the procedure of the committee. So that is what our standing orders say. And yes, and the Constitution says that parliamentary committees will regulate their own procedure. You can look at the Constitution.
Oh, but what I have ruled is that I will rule out hypothetical questions.
Thank you very much for ruling out the hypothetical question. But the document I hold here is Moti 2. It is in evidence. So it's not hypothetical. I'm not, conjuring up an example, right? Okay, so Honorable Minister, you wrote the letter, your deputy wrote the letter on the 23rd of October 2017, introducing the foundation to the expatriate community.
Very well. Okay,
so I take it that you identified the expatriate community members who were the recipients of this letter.
We did not. Mr. Chairman, I've made that statement even at the risk of repeating myself. Even at the risk of repeating myself. I've said that that responsibility was bestowed on the foundation. But Honourable Member, you can proceed. I would respond.
You know, Minister, you addressed the letter to the expatriate business community. And you are saying that it was then delivered by the foundation, right? Yes. Okay. So if that is the case, I do understand why you are not answering directly. Okay. My last point of inquiry. These are expatriate businesses, so we can assume that they come from various jurisdictions, right? They are foreign businesses. Yes, I'm saying that we can safely assume that they come from various jurisdictions. Is that correct?
Various jurisdictions meaning?
Okay, so some would come from the United Kingdom, others from, let's say, Lebanon, others from Israel, and so on and so forth. Is that correct? These are foreign businesses.
Yes, operating in Ghana.
Okay, that is fine. There are foreign businesses operating in Ghana. All right. So, are you aware of the OECD Convention on Foreign Corrupt Practices?
Which aspect of it?
You are aware of the existence of the convention?
Yes.
Were there companies that came from the OECD member countries?
Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, I do not want to take up the responsibility bestowed on another party. So I'm unable to speak to that, respectfully.
All right. That is fine. So I'll rest my case here and thank you for your cooperation.
Honorable Mr. Chairman, respectfully, a matter was raised and I don't want it to hang. The honorable member was making reference to the letter signed by my deputy. And the sense that I got was that he was trying to find out if this did not amount to extortion, because this is a public inquiry. Now, what's the definition of...
Honorable Minister, the chairman ruled that my question was hypothetical. So we evaluate the evidence that you have given in the course of writing our report. So he ruled me out. Otherwise, if you start explaining, I will have to take you on and may have to ask the hypothetical question again.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We'll continue with Honorable Dr. Asibe Yabua.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Alan John Kwejo, Chairman. I have a few questions for you. First, who introduced the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards? This whole concept. Who introduced the Ghana Expatriate Business Awards?
Honorable Member, it was introduced by the Millennium Excellence Foundation.
Okay. Let me take you to your MOU. Your MOU, which would be MOTI 1. And specifically, I refer you to clause 1, subclause 1. 1.1. Minister, can you explain further what you have in clause 1.1 of the MOU, that this is an initiative under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, a government partnership with MEF? Can you explain further what this means?
Chairman, what this means is what is written there in terms of the fact that it is a collaboration between, it's an initiative which is a collaboration between government and the foundation.
Minister, I refer you to clause 1.5. 1.5. And Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would quote 1.5. That the Minister of Trade and Industry will ensure that the President of the Republic of Ghana, together with other senior ministers of state, are present during the hosting of the GEBA. Now, juxtapose this with 1.7. 1.7 on the next page, Roman numeral 6. it says responsibilities of motives. Invite the office of the president to the Geba Prize. In one instance, you mentioned here in the MOU that the minister would ensure that the president attends the event. In another breath, you mentioned office of the president. Now, is it a tacit admission that you cannot guarantee the presence of the president at any event, in which case a senior official of the presidency might fill in for him?
Yes, indeed, Honorable Member, it happens all the time. The invitation will be communicated to the president and the presidency, but in case that the president is unable to attend, then other senior representatives of government would attend.
So meaning the presence of the president at an event cannot be guaranteed?
Yes, indeed.
Now, the motion before us, you were in the House on the 5th of January, so I'm sure you saw the motion. It tasked the committee to investigate the levy. Now, did the Ministry of Trade and Industry impose a levy on expatriate businesses?
Honorable Member, the Ministry of Trade and Industry indeed does not have the authority to impose a levy, and we did not impose a levy.
Minister, I asked this because that is the motion before us.
I appreciate it. I understand you very well, yeah. Honorable Member. Yes.
So what is before us is to investigate the imposition of a levy and collection of same by the Ministry of Trade and Industry.
Yes,
so
very well.
What you are telling us here and now is that the ministry did not impose any levy on expatriate businesses.
Yes, indeed, Honorable Member.
So was the Ministry of Trade and Industry involved in mobilizing any funds for the event?
Honorable Member, we were not involved in mobilizing the funds as provided for under the MOU. It was the responsibility bestowed on our partner, the private foundation.
Even though you have spoken to this already, if that were the case, why did the ministry impose the condition that all monies raised be lodged in an account that it holds?
Honorable Member, as I explained, part of the understanding reached in the MOU was for the ministry to retain a certain percentage, which will then be applied to the organization of subsequent similar events. In our understanding, that required us to have some control over the information, not the actual physical activity of soliciting, but knowing how much has been mobilized. It's only when we know how much has been mobilized, then we can indicate that 10% of that was going to be retained for subsequent events. And then also to maintain financial integrity, as we've explained earlier on.
Honourable Minister, how many expatriate businesses were invited to the event?
I do not have the specific figures, but I suspect that around 400 were contacted.
And would this 400 be expatriate businesses or 400 individuals invited to the event?
I will not be able to answer that directly, since this was the responsibility of the foundation.
Honourable Minister, I refer you to your exhibit Moti 3.
Moti 3?
Yes. Now, granted that 400 businesses were invited, is it our understanding that only 26 made payments to sponsor the event as per the exhibit Moti 3?
Yes, Honourable Member, that is so.
Is that of the 400 expatriate businesses invited, only 26 have made payments thus far?
Honourable Member, I was saying I couldn't confirm because that was done by the foundation. But even then, the 400 will be those contacted, not necessarily invited.
Honourable Minister, did you sit at the presidential high table on the night of the event?
Honourable Member, yes, I did.
And how many people sat at the presidential high table on that night?
Honourable Member, I can give you that information in a moment. On that day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 16 persons, 17 including His Excellency the President.
17 persons sat on the presidential high table on that night. 17.
Yes, Honourable Member.
Honourable Minister, do you have a list of the personalities who sat at the presidential high table, whatever?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have that.
Yeah, we will need a copy in evidence.
The Chairman, which is to suggest that because that was going to be my next.
Yes, you can ask, but you should put it in evidence.
But I was going to clear with you if you can put the names out of those who sat there at the table. I can. Yes. Honourable Minister, can you tell this committee the persons who sat on the presidential high table on the 4th of December?
Mr. Chairman, the first was His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Ashim Morton, the President of the Foundation, myself, Minister for Trade and Industry, Honorable Carlos Ahinkra, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Amar Hari, the Chief Executive of IPMC, Mr. Ashok Mohinani, the Chairman of Mohinani Group, that's Polyplast, KFC, and other related companies. That's the group we are talking about. Then Mr. Salem Kalmoni, Chief Executive of Japan Motors, His Excellency Jerry John Rawlings and his wife, Mr. Saled Fakri, the Executive Chairman for Interplus Ghana Limited, Ms. Roshi Motman, Chief Executive of Tigo Airtel Ghana, Mr. Jim Ovia, Founder and Executive Chairman, Group Executive Chairman for Zenith Bank Group, Mr. Bhagwan Kumchandan, the Chief Executive of Melcom Ghana, Mr. David Harper, the Chief Executive of Geodrill Ghana, Mr. Mike Takwani, the Chief Executive of B5 Plus Ghana, Mr. Yofi Grant, CEO of GIPC, Mr. Yo Ziobiatong, the Chief Executive of Unilever Ghana, and then the Honorable Ishmael Ashite, Greater Accra Regional Minister. These were the persons seated on the high table.
So 17 of you. Did any of these 17 persons make a contribution of $100,000 prior to the event, as is being alleged?
Mr. Chairman, for the avoidance of doubt, none of the persons mentioned made a contribution of $100,000 prior to the event.
But earlier you said the chief executive of Interplast made a contribution of $100,000 after the event. Is that so?
Yes, indeed. This submission was made by the Honorable Member Ayene, and this was corroborated during my submission.
So these 17 persons have all of them subsequently made monetary contributions.
Honorable Member, since this is a matter of record, there were organizations or representatives of organizations who did not make any monetary contribution before or after the event, but who were seated on the high table.
How many of them?
3 of them. I mean, these were individuals seated, as I had mentioned, but maybe it's not appropriate to be mentioning the specific names, but who were seated on the high table, who made no contributions, absolutely no contributions, either before or after the event.
So how many persons on the presidential high table made contributions before or after the event? In total, how many persons?
So the number of persons in the list that is under reference now who made contributions prior to the event, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7 made contributions prior to the event.
Yes.
How about contributions made after the event?
So 2.
And then you also said 3 have not made any contributions. So
yes.
7 made contributions before the event, 2 contributed after the event, 3 have not made contributions.
Either before or after. And remember, Honorable Member, we've not included the, as it were, government officials and other non-business, not expatriate individuals who were seated on the high table. So the reference that we've made is only in respect of the business people. So if you add those of us who were also seated, you get the number being referred to.
And did anybody contribute during the event?
Not to my recollection. But just for clarity, I know that there was one individual who was seated on the high table who has come out publicly to confirm that he paid 13,000 Ghana cedis. 13,000 Ghana cedis, but was seated on the high table.
So there are 7 who paid before the event, and the 2 who paid after the event did not pay the same sums of money.
No, indeed not.
So the highest in all of that will be the one person.
Only one person
who paid 100,000
after the event,
and someone paid as low as 13,000.
13,000, but was seated on the high table. And as I've indicated, there were 3 people who were seated on the high table who paid neither before the event or after the event. 3 people, chief executives of major companies in Ghana.
Can we conclude that those 3 will not be making any payments into the future?
Chairman, is it Is this not speculative?
It's very, very speculative. It's speculative. You wouldn't know whether they will be paying or they will not be paying. No. If people are paying, you can ask him a specific question relating to people who have paid after the event, not those who are likely to pay. He wouldn't know.
Very well. Honourable Minister, now, has any of these expatriate business owners made a formal complaint of extortion to the ministry?
Mr. Chairman, not to my knowledge. And indeed, if you reference my statement, my press statement, which is also an exhibit, I offered that as a minister responsible for trade and industry, that I will be pleased to interrogate any specific allegation of malfeasance or impropriety. But as of today, no such allegation has been made.
Honourable Minister, if I refer you back to the MOU 1.61, clause 1.61, that the GEBA prize will be an established biennial event on the multi calendar and will collaborate with the MEF for a minimum of 20 events. This would be for a period of, say, 40 years, because this is a biennial event. Now, what sense do you get from the expatriates who attended the event of the importance of this event?
Thank you, Honourable Member. The sense that I get, or I got, since we are now talking about a past event, was that the expatriate business community was very impressed, not just by the level of organization of the event, but also for the fundamental purpose of recognizing expatriate business owners and the contribution they've made. And indeed, one of the awardees who spoke at the event, who is the group chairman of Zenith Bank, which is, I believe, one of the largest banks in Africa, did in fact make a categorical statement that Ghana, for this particular event, has been ahead of Nigeria, and that they hope that they can replicate this award event in Nigeria. So all those who spoke in superlative terms about the event. So this is the sense that I got from it.
Honourable Minister, as per the press release of the Minister of Information, after the President had queried you, the Presidency cleared the Ministry of any wrongdoing. Do you think the investigations done by the Presidency was thorough enough?
Honourable Member, I have no doubt that the investigation was thorough. I was written to. This was made public knowledge, and I responded. And after the response, an official statement was issued by the Minister of Information. So I have no reason to believe that it was a thorough investigation.
Honourable Minister, you brought in MOFA, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. So are you aware, or do you know the model used by MOFA to manage funds it solicits during the Farmers' Day awards.
Honorable Member, I may not know the exact details, but at least I have a document that may shed some light on this particular inquiry that you are making. And this is in respect of the organization of the 32nd National Farmers' Day Award 2016. This is the Farmers' Day for 2016. So this is the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And with your kind permission, I will read this letter. It says, 32nd National Farmers' Day 2016, special appeal for support. The 32nd edition of National Farmers' Day is scheduled for Friday, 7th October 2016 at Kintampo in the Bronx-Afo region, under the theme, Agriculture, a Business Response to Economic Growth. To this end, the Ministry appreciates with deep gratitude your contribution towards National Farmers' Day celebrations over